Good morning, everyone. It is early in the AM here in Las Vegas. We're getting ready to film the TV version of this show, season 6 here in Las Vegas. The new Sirius XM studios as Blue Wire is rolled up into the Sirius XM family. We are super excited about that relationship, which gives greater tentacles to Blaine Bartlett and I, the incredible mentor, business advisor, consultant, my hero, Double B, Blaine Bartlett. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm not going to be with you today, but I'll be back for a later filming.
Yes, you will. And in line with that objective, Aaron Marcum is here, entrepreneurial speaker, author, and he has a new book out about thriving, EntreThrive. And it is aligned with what
Great to be here.
With a lot of great to have you. But Blaine and I work with a lot of family offices, and it's one of the ways that we can create financial freedom, a financial legacy. But I think too many people have a financial stigma, a financial thermostat when it comes to financial freedom. And we don't take into account our own values in creating the life, the good life that is subjective to what we have. I have friends who climb on Everest and go to Antarctica and, do crazy stuff. That does not seem like the good life. But yet they have, freedom. And my question lies within that idea of thriving with financial freedom. How do we reconcile what exactly that is for us personally?
Yeah, because it's going to vary. I think that you first have to decide what you want, right? And be okay and not make excuses or justifications for what you want. It's okay to dream big or whatever that dream is for you. And I think that, in 2015, I financially was soaring and doing well, but I was not happy. I was not just grinding it out as an entrepreneur, but a lot of the stressors, unhealthy. I was not exercising. I wasn't doing the things that I should be doing. And I thought I knew what financial freedom looked like then. And I decided that, in my book, I talk about the lie of the either or, where entrepreneurs believe this lie that either they have to thrive professionally or thrive personally, and they can't have both. And so they grind it out professionally while their personal thriving is suffering. And so, the subtitle of the book is Accelerate Financial Freedom While Creating the Good Life. And I love that because really, truly, when I decided to invest in my own personal well-being and what the good life for me, spending more time with my family, Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach has been my coach for years, and wrote that book, 10X is Easier Than 2X, with Ben Hardy. And he talks about the 4 freedoms, and the freedom of time, money, relationships, purpose. To me, that's the good life for an entrepreneur. And so when I started creating more time and space, my financial freedoms, like my ability to do the things that I wanted to do in life, just started soaring. In 2016, it's like hockey stick growth for me as an entrepreneur, personally and professionally. I got into biking. I started pursuing other passions. Anyway, I think that, but again, it all starts with getting clear. That's what I call the first law, clarity, or entrepreneurial clarity, is getting clear on really what you want and define that freedom for yourself. Is that, and it could be a number, but often it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Aaron, I love this. And I know that you studied with Martin Seligman. The positive psychology guru. Question here. I've got a post that went up on IG this morning, organized around the notion of what would you love? Not what the people think you're supposed to have, but what would you love, and have that becoming kind of an organizing principle. And the question I've got here has to do with just the nature of what money actually is. Number one, it's energy, but number two, it's a symbol for an experience. Money is always symbolic in nature. Yeah, it has no value outside of the experience that it makes possible. So this, marrying these two, what would you love? Yeah, in the forefront, the money will come. In your experience as an entrepreneur, what this is the first thing. Be clear. So in my language, it's what would you love? How do you begin to work with your clients specifically to disabuse them of the attachment to the symbol and move them into what's the clarity around the experience that you'd like to have?
Yeah. So I have a principle called the guiding truths, and that's where I start. Is like these aren't company core values. These aren't, though they should tie to them. You should always align your company core values with your guiding truths, but your guiding truths are the things that you establish, kind of filter your decisions through the guiding truths. And it's really, I love how you phrase it, decide on what you love and let that guide you. And these guiding truths for me, for example, my mind is at peace is my first guiding truth. My life is filled with abundance. I have a guiding truth. I have 9 of them. My ventures create freedom. And so by having those for myself is that I don't partner with people or companies or get involved on the professional side and the opportunities that don't align with those guiding truths, which also aligns with the things that I love to do. And I've been in home care and the healthcare home care space for years. And I think some people look at what they do, that's what they've got to love. But for me, it's the impact of what I do. And that's what I love. Like home care, I like home care. I like the impact. But more importantly, I love the impact I'm having on entrepreneurs within that space. And so, again, that aligns with my guiding truths. My family receives of my time is one of my guiding truths. So if something's going to rob that time with my family, I have 6 kids. So I've got to create space for my kids and my wife. And so that's where I start. Like, get clear on what those guiding truths are.
Great.
Blaine has taught us over the years, to learn to love what you don't like, learn to love what you don't love. It may be obvious, but so many people don't ask themselves that question for the sake of what. And so whether you're taking out the trash for the sake of reminding my wife how much I adore her and prioritize her because she doesn't like to take out the trash, so I'll learn to love to take out the trash, not only for the sake of illustrating my appreciation and love for her, but also take 5 minutes to remind myself of what I want and appreciate as well. The one thing that you said real quick, I know Jason's in the wing, so if you can answer quickly, it really was something I hadn't thought too much about, is the freedom, economic freedom that creates relationship freedom. But I found both times in my success, the one time that resulted in failure when I lost over 100 million was I didn't use my financial freedom to give me relationship freedom, to fire and fall away the people that were bleeding me, that weren't relative to me, that had no association with me anymore. And now I love the fact I can fire anyone. I can fall away from anyone because of the security that the financial freedom has given me, especially in the business or the activity I get paid for. And it's a freedom a lot of people recognize how important and integrated it is, that the relationship side beyond what most people think of when they think of financial freedom.
Oh, I think it's imperative. I think it's just a matter of time if you are destroying your relationships as you continue to create more wealth, because that's what happens sometimes. And then also the bad actors, they attach themselves, right? And so it's you have to be very clear on what types of relationships you want through that journey and be willing to shed all those bad actors that maybe not even intentionally are affecting you in a negative way or have ill intentions, as far as like they just want to be around you because of now your newfound wealth. But those deeper relationships are I mean, the Good Life book that was based upon that Harvard study, the 80-year plus Harvard study. And that's something Marty taught me, Martin Seligman, you know, at UPenn, is that relationships are the number one factor to our well-being. That's as humans, right? And entrepreneurs creating wealth, they need those, even more importantly, I think, as they grow that wealth, that they have to have the right people around them to continue to live the best life they want. So
Yeah,
I love
that's
the
why I
fact
study it.
that, yeah.
As I said,
Yeah,
that's why
go
I
ahead.
study Einstein. The relativity with personal relativity, which is what we call relationships. Aaron, make me one promise. We have you back. We have many platforms. You obviously have the right ideas and have surrounded yourself with the right people, and we would love to do more with you. I know Blaine has a
Yeah.
couple shows. We have multiple shows, TV, podcasts, etc. So we'll have a team reach out and invite you maybe to speak at a few of our masterminds, VIP dinners, etc. The world needs more of your understanding of financial freedom. So join us.
I appreciate it. Thank you. A lot of fun. I would love to reconnect on those fronts.
Perfect.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, Blaine.
Take care.
Thanks, David.
Thanks,
All
Aaron.
right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. That is our friend, Aaron Marcum, AM in the AM. Now we have a Buckeye, so you know it's going to get even better. We have Jason Tharp. He's my brother from another Buckeye, author-illustrator, keynote speaker, of course, also a survivor of trauma, physical, spiritual, emotional trauma, and even cancer. And we become close friends very quickly. Jason, what an honor it is to have you here in the AM, following the AM. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Doing
Amazing.
great. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, you know, you talk about going beyond hope, and
Yes.
I talk about wisdom and faith. And one of the things that struck me when we met was one, the frequency, the resonance that I have with you on the faith side, probably because your basement had a basement. And when our basements have basements, we get big bounces. Only if we seek the wisdom in why our basement has a basement, but to have the faith to break through our thermostat or limitations that we put on ourselves. The Beyond Hope project, going beyond hope. Is it wisdom that takes us beyond hope, or are other things that we should be focused in on when we want to go beyond hope?
Yeah, I think, well, I define hope as an ignition switch. It's the part to get you started, and I think where it begins is when you think that you're at a bottom, or you think that you're at a stop spot or whatever. And I think most of the time it happens through a traumatic event. But what it means to go beyond it is to realize that, like, what is happening right now is not what's defining you. It is just what is happening right now. It's how I use hope as an acronym, is to get people to realize that in this moment, what you're really, really experiencing is just a human experience, and that hard things have happened before. And how to get beyond that is to realize, take stock of what you've been through. And you'll realize that, like, wow, that thing that was 6 months ago that I'd never get through, like, it's 6 months later and here I am. I've gone beyond that. So it's just a reminder that what we tend to do with Beyond Hope projects is remind people that, like, the unfortunate part of being a human is that the good stuff and the bad stuff are equally as normal. Everybody wants good days, right? Always. But the bad days happen as well.
The idea, and you talk a lot about resilience, as a part of the conversation around hope. And I'm struck by, just the notion of a flow state. I love nature. I've spent a lot of time using nature as kind of a teacher. And if you watch a river move and it comes into encounters a big boulder, it doesn't go, oh, damn. Yeah. What's this boulder doing? It just moves. So the idea of resilience, flow, and hope, how do those three fit together in your worldview?
Yeah, for me, it was really, so to kind of give context, I guess, for people that don't really know a whole lot. So July 12th, 2021, I had a seizure. And that seizure, it was discovered I had a grade 4 glioblastoma. And the first appointment I had with my no longer oncologist, within 2 minutes of meeting me, they told me that I'd be dead in 7 months.
Yeah.
And so when you hear that, I mean, you kind of, as you can imagine, your knees get kicked out from underneath you pretty quick. But immediately in my head, I don't really know the source of why that happened, but immediately in my head, I said, this isn't true, and I'm going to flip this. And I don't know if it's just because my whole life, it's been about everybody telling me what was impossible, but yet everything that they told me I would never be able to do, I've done. So immediately it was like, well, if I can do this, based on what I know about myself already and what I've overcome, then if I want to be somebody that beats this thing, how would they act and how would they behave? And how can I embody that every day? So then I turned back into where I grew up as a kid being bullied, and everybody telling me I was a loser because I was a weird kid and I knew what I wanted to do at 6. I wanted to be a storyteller. Everybody telling me that, I had my 8th grade guidance counselor told me that I'd never grow up to be anything because all I did was draw all over everything. I have 23 kids books out now. It is all of these things. So it kind of, I always refer to always building a snowman. Like I kind of just packed all those things together and just realized that, okay, at one point in time, I graduated high school, weighed 175. 2 years later, I weighed 400 pounds. I mean, I just ate all of my feelings, but yet I always came all those things that people said that I wouldn't be able to do. And that was just another case of that. So I look at the flow state and the resilience part of that thing is that the past is never there anymore, except for to remind us that in this present moment, we can do hard stuff. And this just became another one of those things for me. I realized that if I combine all those things, and in a lot of ways, if I'm being honest, I really thought like maybe all of those things happened to prepare me for this present moment right now. And in that, if I embrace this and I really go at it with everything I believe and get in touch with who I am, that was the number one thing I had to start with was, why is it that I did not like myself so much? Like, instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, like we all do, like, let's dive in and really fix this. And that was the first step. And then it was each thing, just believing that, this is not who I am. This is not the definition. What I always tell future docs now is that while they were busy writing my ending, they didn't realize just asking a simple question about who I was and what I'm about, they would have found out I'm a storyteller. And I believe that so much happens from once upon a time in the end that they were writing my ending before they even realized that I was just beginning something pretty amazing.
I love that answer, Jason. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much, Jason, when you speak resonates with me. It's just the way you say it, the lines are unique in articulating, very similar ideas that Blaine and I have shared, but in such a powerful way. Just to finish up, I think it's amazing to me when the catalyst occurs. And I find that extraordinary people, sometimes because of their extraordinary capability, they go through the motions until something really kicks the ass and wakes them up. And so I'm just imagining grade 4 brain cancer, obesity, and someone who has lived a life of negative talk. And instead of having negative talk at the most crucial moment, probably the bacon of the basement, as I mentioned earlier, you decide, instead of having negative talk and saying, oh, yeah, I got 7 months and, I'm going to die a fat loser. Instead, you said, holy shit, I have brain cancer. I'm obese. I've been saying, doing, thinking, believing, and feeling the wrong things. It's my time. Why do you think it takes? For me, it was over $100 million. For Lee Steinberg, it was literally almost dying of over serving himself alcohol. For so many of my other friends, it's a serious kick in the ass. For the extraordinary, do you think it takes that kick in the ass? And what do you think it was? I heard you say, well, I'm not sure why, but I all of a sudden said, F this, I'm going to live a different way.
Yeah. Boy, this like, just hearing you ask that question, it gets me emotional because like, this is the core of everything to me was, that. So what happens when you get diagnosed with something like that? And I'm sure the same as anybody else that loses something major, was that word just echoes over and over and over. And you're looking for something. You're looking for some sort of anything. And unfortunately, when you look out in the world, you don't see a whole lot when you hear glioblastoma. There's not a whole lot of positive stuff out there. But I did have my radiation oncologist, who was an amazing person, call me and tell me that it wasn't what he thought the case was going to be. Now, what I wasn't prepared for was that first doc, what they did for me was release all of that trauma that I had been, because what I really did was a kid and as a growing up was I push it all down like a lot of people do. I'd pack it up, right? What they did in telling me I was going to be dead in 7 months was they brought all of it. And for a week, I felt like a giant just kept choking me more and more and more. And when I was at the end of my rope, I reached out to my then radiation oncologist and asked for a second opinion, knowing that's not what I wanted at all. I just needed somebody to hear what I was saying. And I think what a lot of people go through is they don't realize that we all feel invisible at times. And a lot of times what we want to do is just be seen. So this doc calls me on a Sunday, which you don't ever think anything good happens when a doc calls on Sunday. And I answer it, and it's him, and he's a very important doctor. He's, one of the top docs at Ohio State. And he just says, first thing he says to me is, I just need you to breathe. He goes, I don't believe it. I think you're going to be fine. And I walked away and we had this great conversation. He spent an hour and a half on the phone with me, telling me all the reasons why he thought my case was different, why he became a doctor. And here I am on a bike path on my knees, crying, tears, snot, all of this stuff. And I told him, I was like, I don't know what happened or why you made you call me today, but you just saved my life. And I was like, I will be the best patient. I will be the best advocate. And I will use this story to change everything for everybody. And what it felt like in that moment was that somebody reached in and just yanked all of that trauma out. I went from never sleeping to like sleep like a baby now. I'm not afraid to talk into my truth. I know my values. I'm not afraid to do all the stuff that old me would have looked at and said, you're crazy. And I think it came from what that kick is, like you said, is it wakes you up to the real you. And I think for such a long time, I walked through life with me in the middle in the present moment, but I had two versions of me on each side. And one side was the little kid that was just screaming and wanted all the attention. And that was fear. And I spent so much damn time feeding that kid. That so much so that the one in the left hand, which was love, was the one I think I let go of. And it took, not negative talk, not being obese, and not, being 95 grand in debt and the bank getting ready to foreclose on my house and all that stuff like that. It took a brain tumor. So it took a massive kick for me to wake up and realize that I was feeding the wrong kid. So what sucks about that, though, is that you end up looking around and thinking that you're lost because you don't know who you are. But what's amazing about love, and I believe love is right on the other side of everything you're afraid to talk about and address, was like love went out there and sprinkled breadcrumbs out. And it was like waiting for me. And it was like an old friend. It just was like, where you been? Like, I've been waiting for you. And like, are you ready to get at this now? Because now we're really going to figure out who we are. And that was the thing. And I think as I meet people, very much like you guys, it's always a huge kick. And the only way I know how to explain it is the same as I told you, Dave. Like, I knew immediately that you and I vibed. I knew like as soon as, and I don't know if that kick releases that frequency that you're able to do, but I've known my whole life I've been able to pick up on that, but I just always denied it before. And I think that's what that bottom does, is it makes you wake the hell up and it kicks you so hard. And it's funny you mentioned that, because that same doctor told me in my last appointment, he said that he wanted to tell me about Dharma, and his family said his mother used to tell him all the time that the bigger your Dharma, the harder the kick. And I thought, and I every time I messaged him with anything great, I'm always like, Dharma, my friend, and it's pretty amazing.
Love created me like itself. And that's I get
a good friend of mine
for you. Since I've met you, just emotional of what love means, and sometimes it needs to kick started with that Dharma. And when you get a big kick, you should really understand your significance, because you're not going to get big. You have something big ahead of you, and so Jason, you have something very big ahead of you. We're going to do more, of course. And fellow guy, thanks to Ohio State for saving my friend's life as well. Thank you for joining us, Jason. We'll do more. Author-Illustrator, keynote speaker, brain cancer survivor, an inspiration to everyone who meets him. Just be around him. You'll see the light, and he'll liberate yours as well, because he's a great storyteller with very significant lessons. Jason Tharp, thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Have a wonderful day.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Wow.
Well, that's a perfect transition. We are blessed to have a hero in the house, one of my faves. It's very rare someone has a bigger podcast than me, and this is one of those guys. First, Smile, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service. I love your name, by the way, Miles. Means a lot to me, as Blaine knows.
Yep.
It's significant, but more than that, your message, your story, that allows people not just, to be passionate and as passion struck, but intentionality is a cornerstone. And I don't think people understand the levels of intentionality. And in your new book, Passion Struck, which is perfectly, I want to also illustrate to the thousands of guests that we have, put your book up there, because this stuff shows at the airports, and people buy books or think about books when they're sitting at the gate. So if you don't have your book behind you, you're making a mistake. I'm a marketing guy, so I like to teach lessons as well. But I want to talk about the principles of intentionality, and how we can help people be more passionate and purposeful and profitable when we ignite the most intentional type of life.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. It is such an honor, and I've been looking forward to this all week long, to be on this incredible show. I also just wanted to give a shout out to your previous guest. My sister is currently battling pancreatic cancer, and just to see the fight to survive, and hearing it in Jason's story and seeing it in my sister's life, it's just such a powerful reminder of how finite our time is here and how we have to use it so wisely.
Bless her. And utilizing your podcast and book on the intentional behavior, I was hoping you could as well touch on that idea of intentionality and what that means in the alignment with the passion that we need to have, as it struck you and many others in your life.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you a short story on this. I love Angela Duckworth's work, and I think Grit is a foundational book for anyone to read. She studied, in the beginning of it, cadets at West Point, and she tried to figure out what made some be able to graduate or get through Beast Barracks and why some didn't. And I have a unique perspective on this because I went to the Naval Academy. So pretty similar journey between the two. And she found, along with other scientists, that it was passion and perseverance that were the key. And although I agree passion and perseverance are absolutely critical in that journey, I think they missed the third leg of the triangle, which is intentionality. Meaning, you can have all the passion and perseverance that you want in the world, but if you're not aligning your life with your values, with your long-term aspirations, with your ambitions, you're not going to understand when you're on a course that's not going in the direction that you ultimately want to take it. In this case, graduating from one of the service academies and knowing when to have that self-control to readjust. And that's just a small example, but that's, to me, what it means to be intentional. It's aligning your actions with your deepest ambitions and aspirations.
I love this, John. And yeah, there's a double entendre with passion struck. It's kind of like love struck. It hit me, or it's just kind of whoa. But the Greek root of the word passion, pashkos, basically means suffering, to suffer. And in the way that I'm understanding how you're working with this, particularly when you marry the other two legs on this stool, suffering is a choice that doesn't necessarily have to be in place. It really is, what do I want to dedicate my life to that would ultimately be worth suffering for, because I'm going to be turning my back on a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that other people would say is important. This whole idea of framing passion as a generative element in my life's journey. I'm interested in how you actually personally came to realize that.
So how I came to realize this journey of passion that I'm on right
Yeah,
now.
the passion actually can be a generative, not necessarily fueled by suffering.
Yeah, for me, it really all started with a little bit of my backstory. For those who've never heard of me, I was a very successful senior executive. I was chief information security officer, chief operations officer, chief data officer, eventually CIO for a Fortune 50 company. But although my world showed outer order, inside I was feeling something completely different and detached from the life that I was leading. And it was on this journey that I started to hear this inner voice whispering to me that I was meant to do something much more profound and, more importantly, in service of others. And that voice sometimes is very difficult to hear, because what it was telling me at that time was you were supposed to help the beaten, battered, bored, broken, lonely, helpless of the world. And when you're sitting here at Dell and you're a senior executive and you think your life is going great, and then you get this calling, you're like, what the heck do I do with that? And I
Yep.
think a lot of people, like I did, you ignore it. And when you do that, I think your life starts going in the opposite direction that you want
Mhm.
to go into. And that's exactly what started happening to me. And it was really my intentional effort of getting back into mindfulness practices and really doing the core introspection that helped me understand who those people were I was supposed to help, but more importantly, how they were suffering. And that amounted to me finding my passion for what I'm doing,
Yep.
and learning more about myself, realizing I hadn't been living my life authentically. It was as if I was in a masquerade, wearing a mask of who I truly was. And I have just found, since I've allowed that to be unleashed, my life is so much more profound. I have so much more contentment and fulfillment in everything that I do.
Love it.
And in your career as a Navy vet, as a chief executive of one of the biggest companies in the world, we are considered or looked upon as being a master. And yet your transformation came from understanding the only master that you need to become what you want to become is personal mastery. What were some of the first text, podcasts, books? What were you exposed to that kind of led you away from the external, looking outside of you for validation? Instead, now you're one of the world's top personal mastery masters themselves, and now you're finding outside of you what you have explored and are enlightened to find inside of you. What were the few things that people can look for to maybe start their journey into personal mastery instead of being a great master of many?
Yeah, so I think there were a number of things. So podcasts are something that I've always loved. Before starting mine, I spent literally 18 months trying to listen to as many as I possibly could. I probably listened to 500 or 600 episodes from 100 podcasters. I have always personally loved the work of Lewis Howes, and I have found it to be very inspirational and educational. I think at this time I was also listening to Tom Bilyeu a lot, and
Mhm.
some of his thoughts on how you break through. I think Jim Quick has a great show that he puts on as well, as and a recent one who started later is Mel Robbins, and I think she does a tremendous one, as do Rachel Hollis and Gabby Bernstein. So I particularly like Gabby's because she really gets into self worth a lot. As far as books, and I just happen to have this next to me because I read it all the time. This is Sharon Salzberg's book on love and kindness. And one of the things I have really gotten into is understanding Eastern philosophy a lot more, Buddhism and other things, because I think I found myself in this trap that many of us fall into, where I was looking at things in a linear way, at either or. And what really Eastern teaching shows us is that it's paradoxical thinking, that we both at times need self-criticism and at the same time self-compassion. We both need to heal the mind and the body, etc. Additional books for me were Robin Sharma's AM Club has been one I always look to for support. I mentioned Jim Quick. Limitless is another one. Miracle Morning by Hal. All of Gabby's books are great. I really like Jamie Kern Lima's first book. I actually think Worthy is even better than the first one. So and then I have to say, one of the most fundamental books to me, because I'm an introvert, was Quiet by Susan Cain, because it was the first time that really gave me permission to be myself, because I understood that what I had was actually a strength, not a weakness.
That's amazing. Well, if you haven't followed or haven't listened, downloaded, subscribed, and reviewed John Miles and Passion Struck, you're missing out. Buy the book, read the book. He's amazing. He's aggregated and accelerated all the great information of our friends, Blaine and I at TLC, some great insight, and glad to hear that our friends are having an impact on so many other people that are having impact on so many other people, which is my mission, to empower over 1 billion people by empowering others to empower others to be happy. John, we'd love to have you on more of our shows. Love to contribute as well to yours. We'd be reaching out for sure. And I absolutely want to send you some more information of Blaine and I and what we're doing. We need more of you. Thanks for helping others with the great journey that you've lived. And thank you for your service.
Well, thank you guys both for having me on this incredible production. And I'd love to have you guys join the podcast at some point. And I'm sorry we couldn't connect on Instagram, but I remember a person before me said something that I think we all need to say, and she asked you for help to get her book more out in the world. And I think that's an important lesson that I took away just from listening to that sometimes we get so afraid to ask for something that we need. And sometimes it's just having that conviction and belief in yourself and asking for that help that you need that helps get your message out in the world. So I wanted to highlight that on Instagram, but I thought I'd do it.
Really, yeah. The more we give, the more we're given, but only if we raise our awareness to what we're given and feel worthy of receiving it. And in the context of it being asking for more, asking for help, that concludes the infinite loop of abundance, of more than enough of everything for everyone that we live in. There's a reason we want to be a ferocious Buddha, a great ferocious Buddha, John R. Miles, johnrmiles.com. You're going to see a lot more of him on our platforms, that's for sure. Thanks for joining us on Office Hours.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Such an honor.
Yep.
Got it. Great to see you. All right, Blaine, takeaway of the day.
Takeaway of the day. I'm going to put it in a couple of words here. Love is letting go of fear. Love is letting go of fear. I mean, that's where, if I've got a fear of letting go of my CIO job of a Fortune 50 company, I'm never going to find the love of my life, which is where passion lives. Jason certainly nailed it when he was talking about the left side and the right side of his life. And love is everywhere, but it's always on the other side of fear. It's always on the other side of fear.
I love it. And for me, mine's love related as well. Love created me like itself. And so a reminder, remembrance, and a recollection of the power and the light and the love that exists in the past, and finding the meaning through gratitude and forgiveness, as well as the future, to expand the limitations that we put ourselves in an infinite loop that we live in of more than enough of everything. Love created me like itself. All three of our guests have been created within the context of that love, and sometimes it takes a kick in the ass to remind ourselves of that love as well. May we all transform with the mindset, heart set, and hand set with the guidance of great mentors, Blaine Bartlett. Go ahead and check out blainebartlett.com if you want to be guided with the Sherpa of life. That's with me, the ferocious and the Sherpa himself, Blaine Bartlett. Thank you, my friend. I will see you soon, and I'll give your wife a big hug for raising money for the incredible Unstoppable Foundation, unstoppablefoundation.org. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
Absolutely. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks on the next filming. And Cynthia's looking forward to seeing you.
We are blessed to have you in our lives. Thank you, Blaine Bartlett. Check him out. He's changed my life, my company's life, and so many people around the world. He's an incredible leader and a passionate servant. As you can read in my book, Compassionate Capitalism. You can be a merchant service. You can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. We are in Las Vegas the next 2 days, filming office hours, this show on TV. So come by the studio, the new SiriusXM studio in the lobby of the Wynn Hotel. Next week we'll be at Sofa on Tuesday, and then a VIP dinner on Wednesday in Orange County, California, not Florida or New Jersey, Orange County, California. Join us next week. We'd love to see you. If you aren't joining us, if you need a book, I'll sign it, send it to you, pay for shipping and the book. David@dmeltzer.com. And if you want to know where I'm at with 200 cities on the agenda, 949-298-2905. 949-298-2905. We will catch you soon. Remember, most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you later, alligator.